What is up, guys? Welcome back to SoCal Expeditions. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. Stay around for the future videos on the regular cab short bed build. Today, we're going to be installing RCI Skids. Actually, not today. This is going to be a compilation video put together over the next couple days as I go through and put this all together. But we're going to start mocking everything up on the floor. So as I have it set right now is the orientation that you want your cat guards. Now that's the engine skid in the front, so imagine the truck is going this way. We're gonna have everything angled like this. So when we bolt it up, it's going to look like this. You can see here we have two packages of bolts for the cat guards. We have this secondary hardware kit, which we're not gonna use right now. We're gonna have this cat protector kit. So in this, we're going to have these carriage bolts, as well as washers and nylocks. So now that we got the orientation correct, and as you can see on these washers, you're going to have one flat side and one a little bit more beveled side. I always do flat side down, good practice. So that way it does indeed sit flat on the skid. We can go ahead and use a 1/2 inch socket and just snug these up. These do not need to be extremely tight. You still want a little bit of movement. Just like that, snugged up, we're able to still slide this bracket around for the cat guard, which is good. We want to be able to do that. So now do that for 4 more here, 2 more there, and 4 more there. All right, now that all the cat wings are installed, or they're loosely mounted, we can go ahead and start working on this. I've read from multiple places to loosely install this onto the skid plate first, which they don't tell you to do. So what we're going to do is just that. We are going to put the bolts through the bottom, and then washer, lock washer, and then the nut on top. So you can see here is an orientation of one. It's going to be this bolt coming through the bottom. Then we're going to have our washer and our lock washer, and then our nut on top. Of course, this one sits in between these two cat guards, and you can see the holes, and there is movement to slide it forward and back. So that's why we want to keep everything loose for now. So go ahead and prop the skid plate up on something so that you can work on it like this, and you can reach underneath it. Here is this piece. This is going to sit on top of the factory cross member on your truck. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the bolts for it, and you're going to put them through this hole going upwards, right? And this is going to sit on top. So you'll leave about a 1/2 inch of gap so you can slide this plate in underneath this bolt, of course with a washer. And then you can tighten it down from the bottom. And since this is threaded, you're going to actually be able to grab onto something. If it wasn't threaded and you had to put a nut on the top and hold it with your finger, it's just not going to happen. So that is what this is for, and it goes like this. It sits down with the threaded part on the top so that you can thread into. Again, here's another visual of this piece right here. I don't know if you're supposed to put the lock washer underneath the washer on the bolt head, but whatever. This is going to sit like this, and you're going to tighten it. It's going to zip it all together once you start tightening it. So again, it's going to go through these on the engine skid, and then it'll wedge here and it'll suck it all up together against the cross member. And then for the cross member hardware, it's going to sit like this. So you're going to have the bolt coming through. This piece is going to sit on top of the cross member, and this bolt is super long because it's going to run all the way through it. And then you're going to have the washer, the lock nut, and the nut itself. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side as well. And this is to keep it, because there's a giant hole at the top, that's my guess, to be able to keep it straight. So, or to keep it from pulling through. So that's why there's this giant washer here. So repeat this on the other side as well. I would not recommend putting it on like this as I have right now, because you're just going to take it apart. Just wanted to show you guys what it's going to look like. All right, guys, here we go installing the RCI skids. I have the engine skid mocked up and put on. Let me crawl into there and show you guys underneath where we're going to need to attach the hardware. So taking a look underneath, we're going to have 2 of these bolts that are going to go up front in this slot right here. So we're going to have one here, one on the other side. I don't have this one in because the way that my bumper sits, it is blocking the hole, so I'll need to make a cut later. We're going to have 3 more of the same bolts that go 1, 2, and 3. So it goes in these holes straight up. Let's go take a look at the back now and how it looks. Mind you, everything is loose still. So it's just being supported and held up, but nothing is tightened down yet. And here's what it looks like looking at the engine skid from the back. We're gonna leave this loose because the trans skid is actually gonna slide right in between here, and it's slotted out to allow it to sit right in. And then we're gonna go ahead and slide it in here. And we're also going to throw the crossmember hardware up top, the washers, so that we can kind of slide it in there and then let it hang from back here. If you have a jack, this is the time to use it. It will help because the trans skid is heavier than the engine skid. All right, here I am laying under the truck and my feet are facing forward. Here's the trans skid installed. It is loosely mounted right now. Remember, we left everything loose from the cat guards to the transmission crossmember piece. How I did it is with those 2 bolts. You can see these ones that are loose in the front here. I slid the trans skid underneath, and it's slotted so it's able to slide in that channel where the bolts will fit through into the skid. Then with the other hand, I was lifting this back end and pushing it up against so I could line these crossmember carriage bolts, line these up, and I pushed the bolt through. Then with the flat washer, I set that on top of this crossmember right here, as you can see, and here's the nut on top. Now remember, everything is still loose, and the goal for it being loose is to line up all these cat guards. So these should not touch metal. I promise you, if it touches metal, it will vibrate, or it will pop or squeak or make annoying sounds. So the best way is to go ahead and check everything here, make sure it's not touching, and then I would honestly draw a line or something, some kind of marking, so even if you take it off and it moves, you know where this should end up. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out here. For the rear one, I will always just push this as far backwards as it can go. It can cover the most of this rear cat. And for the front, I'll make a mark here, make sure it's not touching my cam bolts, and the same thing for the other side. I thought this was going to be a big pain, but this is honestly really easy. So I'm going to go ahead, mark everything, pull it back off, tighten all the cat guards as well as this trans crossmember piece, and then put it back all together and tighten everything down. Remember, do not go too tight on these bolts, and don't go too tight on the bolts here that go into the clips up top. Snug is okay. All right, so I went ahead and pulled the skid back out. You can see where I marked it with tape right up against that line is where I need to tighten it down. So I'm going ahead and tightening it down. Right when I pulled it off too, I went ahead and I tightened 2 of these down. So this is straight across and it's gonna bolt right back up. All that really needs to happen right now is tighten these other 2, tighten all the cat guards. Again, the rear is pushed all the way back, and that's it. It goes back up to the truck. All right, and just like that, we have this resting up here. It is good to go. And we'll tighten that later. I will have to tighten this, tighten the other side, check my clearances for my cat guard, and it looks freaking perfect. So I'll go ahead and tighten the back 2 first. They'll be the most painful, and then the last 2 bolts to get tightened are the engine and trans sandwich bolts. Don't go too tight. Good luck, because this one's gonna suck. All right, guys, that is going to be it for the RCI skid install. The only other thing I did is that bolt that sandwiches the engine and trans. I'm only running the bolt and the washer on it. I took the lock washer off. It just spaced down the bolt too far, and it looks silly. So other than that, RCI skids, they're on the truck, and they look great underneath. It was really, really simple. As long as you don't over-tighten things, you won't break anything. So use Loctite if you want, just don't over tight things. And overall, the underside of my truck is protected and I am happy. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.